Okay. Good morning. Welcome again to the Innovation Fund. This time we talk about small-scale projects and how we want to support them. Okay, I go first to the agenda. So what can you expect today from us? So I will start off with a keynote to tell you about the main features of our call for small-scale projects. And then we have a very, very interesting panel session, which I'm very happy about. We will have Diego from InnoEnergy, Nicola from the pulp and paper industry, Nicola from ADEM, Rob from Capricorn Partners, and Alessandro from the European Investment Bank. So you can expect a really interesting discussion on how can we help smaller projects to get on the market, to be innovative in the area of clean tech. So after the panel session, okay, then we will have some questions in the panel session, as well then as a Q&A, where you can come in, and how can you come in these times, as always, via Slido. So please use Slido. Go to slido.com, enter the event code. It's this time Innovation Fund Small Scale, IFSS. And we already got some questions, and we are looking forward to even more, of course. And to the extent possible, I will already try to address them also during my keynote. Okay, so I get going. What is the Innovation Fund about? What we want to do is we want to support you to invest into those technologies that we need for a climate neutral economy and that we need in the transition to there, that we need in the 2030s, 2040s, 2050s, that we need in an economy that on balance shouldn't emit any more greenhouse gases. So, and for this, we need, of course, many more renewables in producing the equipment in Europe, in installing it. We need to become much better at capturing carbon, at using it, reusing it, and then finally also to store it. So circular economy is here a key word. Because if you think about it, the less fossil fuels we'll have in the system when going towards 2050, the more we need to use CO2 from biomass or for capturing it directly from the air and then reusing it. So I think that's a particularly important area. Then, of course, all the sectors of energy-intensive industries. So using new feedstocks, using hydrogen, using biofeedstocks, electrification of heat, and so on. And of course, also developing new substitute products that could substitute those more carbon-intensive ones. And then finally, energy storage, be it short-term energy storage, batteries, electric batteries, or also we look at seasonal storage, using hydrogen, also the storage of heat is of course a topic. And I think the good news about all these technologies that we need towards 2050 is we know how they function. We know how they work. We've done them at in pilot projects and so on at smaller scale. But what we need to now do with them, we need to bring them on the market. We need to deploy them at the first time at commercial scale. And of course, it also must make economic sense to do this. And this is what we are here for. We are here about scaling up clean tech, finding innovative solutions, how for the first time to apply all these technologies in a market environment. And we recently launched and closed the first call for large-scale projects, and we are very happy about the result. We received more than 300 applications, asking for support from us for more than 20 billion euros, while our call volume was 1 billion. So we have an oversubscription of 20 times, much more than what we expected, in particular in these difficult times in COVID. But it's really, I think, such a strong signal how much also the industry believes into this green transition. And we are already starting the evaluations on the first stage. We already had a training with the evaluators, and we are going full steam ahead here together with INEA, the executive agency. So, what do we now exactly propose for the call for small-scale projects? We propose a call volume of 100 million of grants, and in addition, we propose project development assistance that will be provided by the European Investment Bank. Small scale is defined in our regulation as projects with a capital expenditure up to 7.5 million euros. So that's the definition of small-scale projects that we have to obey. We are open to all projects in all the sectors that you've seen before, from renewables, energy intensives, industries, substitute products, carbon capture, use and storage, as well as energy storage. What we can finance is, and that's very simple, that's very straightforward, we can finance 60% of the capital expenditure. So if you take it that the project is the maximum of 7.5 million euros, we can finance 4.5 million euros. And we are on track to open the call on 1st of December. And submissions will be possible until the 10th of March 21. I'll come back to this at the end and explain you the timeline in a little bit more detail. Okay, what are the three, maybe I can say three key features of the Innovation Fund and this call for small-scale projects? So the first one is, as under the call for large-scale projects, we want to behave pretty much as a private investor, with the only difference that we don't look for a monetary return, but a return in terms of these emission avoidance. In return, that you bring us projects that reduce emissions, that go to zero emissions, or maybe even to carbon removals. So we have very comprehensive award criteria, as every private investor would do. We look at what you deliver, greenhouse gas emission avoidance. Is the project really innovative? Is it going towards a breakthrough? Is the project mature enough to take off? Is it scalable? Are there more applications for that project, or is it more like a niche one? And the cost efficiency. So how much money do you want from us per ton of CO2 saved? And then we will act also pretty much as a private investor in the grant disbursement. So we will disperse our grant depending on performance, on delivery. So we give 40% if it gets to financial close. So if the project goes ahead, starts construction, and then the remaining 60% are over 3 years. And in these 3 years, you have to deliver the emission avoidance that you promised. So the emission savings that you promised, you must deliver. And only if this happens, you get the full amount of the grant. And what we were thinking is where we could be particularly helpful with the small-scale call is if you sell the first time a new technology to a customer, and we call him a pioneer customer. So, for example, and I switch to the next slide. For example, you have a good idea, maybe on energy storage, hydrogen fuel cell, and so on, and you are discussing with a customer whether they would like to install such a new project, but they are still a bit hesitant because it's the first time, there are risks involved. So maybe we can help in that we say, okay, we finance 60% of the capital expenditure. Or it could be you're in contact maybe with a public authority, with a city, in maybe building a new library or another public building, and that could be done maybe based on wood construction material and an innovative use of these materials. And also here we could chip in and pay 60% of the capital expenditure. So these are ideas from our side where we think that the small-scale call could work quite well. But of course, we are also open to all other ideas. So also if you just do something in-house in your company, if you improve your processes, if you electrify heat, for example, we are here for you to support you. And again, what I already said before, and let me emphasize it once more, we are paying out based on milestones. And that's different to other EU funding programs. So where the check is more on the cost side, we are really about the delivery. So does the project go ahead successfully? And as I said before, if we come to financial close, so to the construction, we can pay 40% upfront, and then during the operation of the project, and when we see the emission savings coming, we can pay the remaining 60%. So that's result-oriented and result-based. And now on to the award criteria. As under the call for large-scale projects, we have a very comprehensive view on that. So, as I said, the basic one is the emission avoidance. So, how many emissions do you promise us to avoid in absolute amount? But we're also looking at the relative amount. So, is this a project that is really going towards zero emissions? Then, in terms of the innovation, we want to go beyond incremental innovation because we look for projects that can work in the 2030s, in the 2040s, when we have much less fossil fuels in the system. So it's not for incremental innovation. This is not what we are for. Then project maturity. It's, are you ready to go ahead with the project? So and I think in particular, looking at our example of a pioneer customer, do you have a contract already with the customer? Do you have a memorandum of understanding? Do you have a good project team to take this ahead? Do you have other investors? Do you have other public support, maybe from a member state? Do you have the necessary permits? So all the questions that a private investor would ask as well. And then scalability. So as I said before, we would give here a preference to those projects that can have more applications than just one. I mean, some of what you will come up may be more niche applications, and that's, I think, also quite valuable. But of course, the more it can be scaled, the more often it can be used, the better. And also, if you look, for example, at the regional level, what would be very nice is, of course, cross-sectoral projects. So if you, for example, can reuse heat energy from an industrial process and then maybe use it as a fuel for transport. So that could be an interesting application. And lastly, it's about the cost efficiency. So how much money do you want from us per ton of carbon, of CO2 saved? And how we assess this project, that will be all simpler than under the large-scale call. In particular, of course, the cost calculation, because that's now just 60% of the capital expenditure. Okay, Now, I put you here in more detail the description of the 5 award criteria, but in view of time, I will not go through it. Maybe just here on degree of innovation. On the second one, here we have a specific feature that we built in because we want to encourage certain activities where we think, okay, they are still a bit more expensive, so they would do not so well, I think, under cost efficiency, but are nevertheless interesting. So direct air capture, net carbon removals, substitute products. So we would be looking for these projects and support them a little bit more or treat them more favorably on the degree of innovation. But that's just a little push. So it's not that we want to disregard any other projects. Why we are doing this is because we think they are a little bit more expensive and so could benefit here from a little help. Okay, I think I covered all of that. Then quickly, selection procedure. So this will be implemented by the executive agency, by INEA. So we already have now experience built up with the large-scale call, and now we will have the same procedure for the small-scale call. So we will have the panel of independent experts that look at your projects. Then we will consult the list of pre-selected projects with the member states. And then there are 2 outcomes. So 2 things that we can offer. It's directly the award of a grant, or we can award project development assistance. And this we will do together with the EIB, and we then have Alessandro on the panel. And which projects can benefit from the project development assistance. So these are those that are not considered really mature enough to go ahead in this call, but that have a potential to do it with the next call or the call after. So, and the EIB would help those projects to get their maturity better. Of course, probably mostly related also about the financing and the market aspects. So we expect that we could have around 20 projects that can benefit from the project development assistance. And yeah, Alessandro will surely say some more words to it in the panel discussion. Now on the timeline. So we will launch the call on 1st of December. Then we will follow up with the first webinar on the 9th of December, where we will go much more into technicalities. So I've given you a first outline, but exactly how we do the assessment on the greenhouse gas emission avoidance, project maturity, I think this is what you will be most interested in. And then on 9th of December, you can get more details. Then, depending on the demand, we will follow up with more webinars in January. And the deadline for the submission is 10th of March 21. And we hope then that we can tell you the results of the evaluation already in August 21, September 21. And we can quite quickly get the first grant agreements signed. Okay, just my last slide is, as always, I would also call on you, if you're interested, join us as a project evaluators. We're getting the experience with the large-scale call now. I think you can ask your peers that are already participating there. We would be particularly looking for experts on life cycle assessment. So to have a good expertise on the greenhouse gas emission avoidance, but still also on financial experts on the business side. I think we could benefit from a larger group of evaluators, and the work is on like first at home, 5 working days, and then you would meet with your other peers to discuss this project. So I think that that's really quite something exciting. So if you're interested in this, don't hesitate to apply with INEA. And as you can see, like with the call for the large-scale projects, there's a huge interest, and you can, by doing this, really have an impact on the industrial development in this area. Okay, I'm running over a bit of time.
Video should be ready.
Okay, we have something for you now to summarize in 2 minutes what I didn't manage, for which I needed more than 20 minutes. So we prepared a little video for you that you may also want to distribute in your network, in social media, and that again summarizes what the call for small-scale projects is about. So we are ready? Angelo? Let's go.